Should I pay the mortgage, property taxes, and insurance on a home in probate? Really good question. We'll get into that next. Welcome back to the channel featuring California's leading probate real estate team. I'm Brendan Mohr, Realtor and Certified Probate and Trust Specialist by the California Association of Realtors.
And I'm Bill Heyman. I'm a licensed California professional fiduciary as well as a registered and bonded legal document assistant specializing in probate work in California.
Now please like this video, subscribe right now. Want a no-cost probate service? Well, every day we help people save thousands of dollars and eliminate headaches with our one-of-a-kind probate administration service and real estate listing combo. If it's in California and real estate needs to be sold, you may qualify. So please reach out, even if you've started your probate with somebody else or on your own. Our info is on the channel in our About section. We love your calls, texts, emails, and comments. Now let's get into it. So paying a mortgage, property taxes, and insurance on a home in probate. Should you pay them? Now, Bill, what's maybe a short answer on this?
Well, the short answer is maybe. What I mean by that is if it's not going to cause the family or the heirs a financial hardship, I would suggest that you go ahead and make sure you continue to pay the mortgage, property taxes, and insurance. But sometimes people are in financial hardship. They don't have the money. And Brendan, we've seen people like that, and there are some things you can do.
Sure. Now, one good thing is if you have not, if it has to do with the mortgage, for example, and you haven't received a notice of default yet, then you're in pretty good shape. Bill, once you start a probate, you can then get in touch with the lender, and a lot of times the lender is somewhat lenient on time frames, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, especially if there's no notice of default and foreclosure hasn't started yet. Yeah, you usually have some time with the lender, and communicating with them, they actually like that. You communicate with them and tell them, hey, we're starting a probate. We are going to put the home on the market and sell it. You're going to get paid in full. That's a good thing to do. It's a good thing.
Yeah, one thing if you're ever facing foreclosure, whether it's on your own home or in probate, is when you're communicating with the lender, do what you're saying to them, because all those people in those departments, they're used to being lied to and they don't like it. So if you're saying, we're going to start the probate, we're going to get the house ready for sale, we're going to get the house ready for sale by this particular date, do it.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to hold on to that forever. And most banks or most mortgages, even if it's held by Chase Bank, Wells Fargo, well, they might be servicing the loan, but the actual note holder, what's called the trustee of the bank note, the mortgage, should be an individual like you and I. People every day buy bank notes, and it can ultimately be up to that person. Now, a bank doesn't want to foreclose, it's pretty costly, but they will if they're being strung along. So that is important.
Yeah, communication and following through with them is very important, very important.
But as long as you're diligent about it, you should have some time. Now, if you've received a notice of default, and especially if the bank has set an auction date, and there is a financial hardship, I would say it's a last resort, is the advanced inheritance loans. Now, we have a video on advanced inheritance loans, and if you watched that video or a few of our others, we're not the biggest fans of them. I find them to be largely predatory and maybe deceptive in a way, sometimes sold to you in a way that is dishonest, because a lot of people go and get them and think they're only going to have to pay back a minimal amount. Just know that whatever the maximum amount that advanced inheritance company tells you could pay, maybe it's in the fine print, that's the amount you should expect to have to pay.
Yeah, I would plan on paying the maximum amount, and if you end up not having to, great, I would plan on it.
Yeah, they might say things like, well, if the probate goes longer than 6 months after we give you this money, then you're going to be paying the max amount. And you might be thinking, oh, well, I can get the home sold in a month and it can be moving on. Probate in California at the minimum takes 9 to 12 months, and sometimes even longer. Now, there could also be the risk of possible loss due to an insurance claim. You're not paying the insurance.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people, unfortunately, I see a lot of people who just stop insurance altogether on a home that's in probate. And that could be a real problem, because if you've stop the insurance and there's a mishap at the home and there's an insurance claim and there's no insurance, they're going to sue the estate. And that means that money's coming directly out of the pockets of the heirs. And who knows, it might take all the money there is in the estate. So it's not a good idea to let the insurance lapse. No.
Yeah, that is a pretty big one. Now, there's another one that is maybe less likely, but we have seen it.
Yeah.
And that would be the possibility of a property tax foreclosure. Now, there was one instance I could think of where it was actually rescued out of the property tax foreclosure that we were involved in. And that was one where, gosh, the decedent passed away something like 15 years earlier, and they didn't start the probate for a while, and there was like an $80,000 property tax bill because of essentially reassessments. And please watch some of our other videos on property taxes and probate and penalties. And this was not for an extravagant home. This was for a home that was in that day's value when we had this one was 300,000.
I think it was around there. Yeah.
So that's how bad it can get if you are not paying property taxes. And then after not paying property taxes for 5 years, the
tax collector can foreclose if they want to.
Yeah.
And sometimes what happens is maybe mom passes away in January, and for whatever reason, she hadn't been paying the property taxes for the last 4.5 years. So now you've got 6 months left before you hit the 5-year mark, and the tax collector can foreclose if they want to. So yeah, if you can afford it, you want to pay the property taxes.
One other one is HOA fees.
Yes, good point.
An HOA can actually foreclose as well. Yeah. So you do want to communicate with your HOA on that one. Yeah. They can charge some pretty stiff penalties for non-payment or HOA violations too. So yeah, I would say if you can pay those, do it, especially if you plan to sell that house in probate and collect the most proceeds. It's really not great to have a house in foreclosure when it's on the market.
Right.
It gives potential buyers pause. Do they even want to go through this process, maybe pay for inspections and all of that kind of stuff, if this is just going to get foreclosed on and they're out their money on that. Yeah. Now, anything else you'd like to add on to this?
I think really I just want to reemphasize really one of the big things, bottom line, is don't let the insurance lapse on a probate home. Make sure that you get some sort of insurance in effect to protect the estate, especially if you've got a significant amount of equity in that probate.
Yeah, so really one of the big key things here is start probate quickly.
Yes.
Now, don't delay. I mean, we've seen it where people have waited down to the wire until they have a notice of default. It's not guaranteed whether that's going to be saved or not. Yeah. So you don't want to delay. And a great video that maybe you need to watch really helps you start the probate process. You need to hire a professional, or maybe think about doing it yourself, though that's kind of difficult. So please watch this next video. How much does probate cost in Sacramento? It really covers all of California, but it's a great video to really get a good idea of how much probate costs and maybe who you should hire, either hiring an attorney, service like what Bill has for a huge cost savings, or doing it yourself.